Welcome to the deep dive. You know how sometimes certain groups just dominate the headlines?
Mhm.
You hear about them constantly. There's this huge public fascination, but, well, honestly, you often end up with more questions than real answers.
Absolutely. It's like you get the sensation, but not the substance.
Exactly. And the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the FLDS, that's a perfect example. It's a name that brings up, well, a lot of images, a lot of ideas,
For sure.
but actually understanding what goes on inside, their beliefs, the real controversies, it can feel like trying to grab smoke.
It really can. It's complex.
So today, we're going to try and cut through some of that fog. We've gathered a whole stack of sources, articles, research, expert insights to really get past those sensational headlines.
Right.
Our mission here is to unpack the core truths about the FLDS, give you some clear insights, maybe some surprising facts, but without all the usual clutter, so you can walk away feeling, genuinely well-versed.
And the way we'll approach this, the journey through the material, is set up to give you that kind of rounded understanding. We'll start by looking at how the FLDS actually came to be.
Okay. Their origins.
Yeah, tracing how they became distinct. Then we'll dive into their unique community structure, leadership role, which is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, we have to tackle the really controversial part, polygamy, plural marriage.
Right.
And finally, we'll explore the legal battles because they've had a massive impact on the group's existence.
So connecting all those dots.
Exactly. Connecting those pieces to give you a nuanced but still concise picture of this group that keeps fascinating and sometimes alarming people.
Okay, let's unpack this then, right from the beginning. When we say FLDS, the first thing, maybe the most crucial thing, is to clear up a big misconception.
Definitely.
This group is not the mainstream Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The LDS Church, the one most people think of as Mormon.
That distinction is absolutely fundamental.
Okay.
You can't really understand anything else without getting that clear first.
So how did they diverge? What's the story there?
Well, to really get the FLDS, you have to go back to a key moment, a split. They basically broke away from the main LDS Church because they absolutely refused to give up plural marriage.
Polygamy.
Polygamy, exactly. The main LDS Church officially stopped sanctioning it way back in 1890.
Right.
And they excommunicate members who practice it today.
Right.
But the FLDS, they held on to this strict kind of 19th century interpretation of Mormon fundamentalism.
So for them, it wasn't just history.
Not at all. For them, plural marriage is a core commandment.
Yeah.
It's essential, they believe, to reach the highest level of heaven, the celestial glory.
Wow.
So this deep theological commitment to polygamy, that's the absolute defining difference. It's the line in the sand that shapes their whole worldview, separating them completely from the mainstream.
That kind of unwavering commitment, especially to something the main church rejected so long ago, that really set their path, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It became the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And it put them on a course that, well, has been filled with controversy ever since.
So understanding that split isn't just history, it's key to seeing why they operate the way they do now.
Precisely. It informs everything, their structure, their leadership, their relationship with the outside world.
Okay, so we've got the origins straight. The next big piece seems to be the leadership, how they were shaped.
Mm-hmm.
And right away, you run into this figure, Warren Jeffs. His influence sounds immense.
Immense is putting it mildly, yeah. He led the FLDS for years and became, probably the face of the group for many outsiders and definitely the most controversial figure.
So how does one person gain that kind of, well, seemingly absolute power in a community like that?
That's a really good question. And the sources point to a very carefully built system of control. Jess didn't just step into power, he really cemented it.
How?
Mostly through this relentless focus on strict obedience, absolute obedience, and portraying his authority as coming directly from God.
So a divine mandate.
Exactly. And his teachings weren't just, Sunday sermons. They permeated everything, every aspect of FLDS life.
Like what specifically?
Well, think about marriage arrangements. He often dictated who married whom, sometimes even who got divorced.
Wow.
He controlled what kids learned in school, pushing this very specific, very insular view of the world. And maybe the biggest thing, controlling information.
How so?
Effectively banning outside media.
Yeah.
TV, radio, internet, even a lot of books. He wanted his voice, his narrative, to be the only one they heard.
Creating a bubble, essentially.
A very effective bubble. It made it incredibly difficult, almost impossible, to question him or dissent without facing really severe consequences. And the community structure itself backed this up. It wasn't just about Jeffs being charismatic. It was a hierarchy.
Like levels of authority.
Yeah, based on their interpretation of priesthood authority. Leaders at every level, from the top council down to local bishops, had huge power. They decided housing, work assignments, everything.
So it wasn't just spiritual leadership.
No. It was total oversight.
Mm-hmm.
And this structure ensured compliance. Loyalty to Jeffs was everything. Combine that structure with the information control.
And you get extreme isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A self-contained world, totally reliant on its leadership.
That level of control, it just sounds staggering, especially thinking about everyday life, which makes you wonder, how does a community like that actually work economically? I mean, if everything is so tightly managed, how do they sustain themselves?
That's a critical piece, and it loops right back to that absolute authority we were talking about. They developed this unique economic system. It was centered around something called the United Effort Plan, or UEP.
UEP.
All right.
Wow.
It started back in the 1940s. Basically, it was a communal trust. It held pretty much all the community's assets, the land, the homes, the businesses.
Even people's earnings.
Yeah, even individual earnings, supposedly.
Yeah.
On paper, it was set up to make sure nobody fell into poverty.
A safety net.
But under leaders like Jeffs, it became this incredibly powerful tool for control. All the money, whether it came from their farms, their construction companies, whatever, it all flowed into the UEP.
And who controlled the UEP?
The priesthood leadership.
Yeah.
Which ultimately meant Jeffs. So legally, individual members owned almost nothing.
Nothing at all.
Practically nothing. Your house, the land it stood on,
Yeah.
it belonged to the trust.
Yeah.
And you can see the implications there, right?
Mhm.
While it might have provided some basic security.
It also created total dependency.
Exactly. If you stepped out of line, questioned the leaders, got kicked out, you lost everything. Instantly.
Yeah.
Your home, your job, your entire community connection.
So the economy wasn't just about money, it was about power.
Absolutely. It locked people in. It made challenging the system incredibly risky because you stood to lose your entire material world.
This theme of absolute authority overlives over money. It leads us right to the practice that gets the most attention: plural marriage. It's clearly central to their beliefs, not just some side issue. But it's also, for most people looking in, the most controversial part.
It really is the thing that defines them publicly. But internally, its significance is even bigger.
How so?
Well, in FLDS theology, plural marriage isn't just allowed, it's presented as a commandment from God. A requirement, actually, for men to achieve the highest level of heaven, what they call exaltation.
So the more wives.
The belief is, the more wives a man has, the more children he fathers, the greater his kingdom will be in the afterlife. It's a powerful spiritual driver.
But the criticisms are intense.
Oh, absolutely. The sources we looked at are full of them, primarily allegations that it exploits women and children.
And specifically?
The most disturbing part, the one that comes up again and again in legal cases and investigations, is young girls, sometimes really young, like 14, being married off to much older men.
Arranged marriages.
Often arranged directly by the prophet, by Jeffs himself when he was in power. And these unions, I mean, they raise huge ethical flags, serious human rights concerns. The power imbalance is just enormous.
Not just age, but the whole system.
Right. The age difference, the fact that it's arranged by leadership, it leaves almost zero real choice or agency for the young women involved. Critics argue it's straight-up child abuse. Forced marriage.
Stripping them of basic rights.
Yeah. Now, understanding this fully means trying to grasp the internal religious context, why they believe it's right.
But without ignoring the external view.
Yeah, exactly. You have to hold both. Acknowledge their context, but also take seriously the profound concerns from outside about welfare, autonomy, basic human rights within that community.
Given everything you've just laid out, the arranged marriages, the young ages, it leads to a very direct question. How on earth did they navigate the legal system? I mean, is polygamy even legal in the U.S.?
That's the crucial point, isn't it? And the answer is clear. No, polygamy is illegal in the United States, unequivocally.
So religious freedom doesn't cover it?
Well, religious freedom is fundamental, obviously. But the courts have consistently said there's a difference between the freedom to believe something and the freedom to act on beliefs. If those actions break laws that apply to everyone, laws meant to protect public order, protect individuals.
And polygamy falls into that category.
Historically, yes. The Supreme Court ruled against polygamy way back. They drew a line. So the FLDS practice, while central to their faith,
puts them in direct conflict with the law.
Directly. It clashes with anti-bigamy laws, sure, but even more critically, with laws designed to protect children from exploitation, from being forced into marriage.
So there's this constant tension.
A huge, persistent tension. They practice their faith knowing it violates secular law, and that inevitably leads to legal challenges, intense scrutiny, especially when there are allegations of underage marriage or abuse.
It really highlights that tough balance, doesn't it, between religious liberty and protecting people, especially kids.
It's incredibly complex. How does society uphold freedom of belief while also ensuring everyone, particularly the vulnerable, is safe and their rights are protected? The FLDS situation throws that dilemma into really sharp relief.
So, with polygamy being illegal and all these serious concerns about exploitation, it's probably no shock that the FLDS has faced a lot of legal trouble.
A lot. Numerous challenges, many of them very high profile over the years.
They're not just minor things.
No, these were serious, stemming primarily from allegations of, well, polygamy itself, but also child abuse, sexual assault, and other related crimes.
But so the government got involved.
Heavily.
Definitely. This ongoing government involvement really underscores those tensions. We talked about the clash between FLDS practices and the laws and norms of the wider society.
Was there a particular flashpoint? A major event?
Oh, yes. The 2008 raid on the Yearning for Zion, or YFZ Ranch in Texas. That was huge.
I remember hearing about that.
It was massive, prompted by calls alleging child marriage and abuse. Law enforcement went in, and hundreds of children were temporarily removed from the compound. Wow, and the fallout.
It led to a wave of high-profile prosecutions. Warren Jeffs himself was eventually convicted in Texas. Sexual assault of a child, 2 counts.
What was the sentence?
Life in prison, plus 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't the only one. Other leaders, other members faced charges too. Child abuse, bigamy, even things like welfare fraud, misusing food stamps on a large scale. So these legal actions were really significant interventions. State, federal authorities stepping in, basically saying these laws apply even inside closed religious groups.
And the impact on the FLDS must have been enormous.
Oh, profound. It wasn't just leaders going to prison. Remember the UEP, that communal trust?
Right, the one holding all the assets.
Well, after allegations of fraud and mismanagement, courts in Utah actually took control of it, placed it under state management.
So they lost control of their own economy.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The leadership lost direct control over most of the community's property, their homes, their businesses. Assets were managed by court appointees, some were sold off. It struck right at their economic core.
So with leaders jailed, assets seized, what does that actually mean for the group today? How did all these legal fights, these convictions, change the FLDS community itself?
Well, they undeniably reshaped it in huge ways, maybe even devastating ways for many involved.
How so?
With Jeffs and others imprisoned, and the UEP, their economic backbone, basically gone. The group fragmented. It broke apart to some extent.
People left.
Many did. They lost their homes, their property. The central leadership was gone. So people scattered. Some left the faith entirely. Others just moved to different areas trying to, rebuild their lives.
So the group is much smaller now.
Definitely smaller, definitely less influential than it was at its peak. That monolithic structure is largely broken. But, and this is important, the FLDS hasn't completely vanished. It's weakened, yes, but it still exists.
Really? Where?
There are still communities, still followers who hold on to Jess's teachings. They tend to live more quietly now in various places, often in smaller, less visible groups.
Still facing challenges, presumably.
Oh, yeah. Ongoing internal conflicts, leadership struggles now that Jeffs is incarcerated. So it's a much more fractured picture today. But the core beliefs, for some, still endure, even after all the legal pressure and social scrutiny. It shows how deep-seated those beliefs really are.
Wow. We have covered so much ground today, really trying to peel back the layers on the FLDS.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. From understanding, where they came from, that split over polygamy, to the incredibly strict leadership, like under Warren Jeffs.
And that whole communal economic system, the UEP.
Right. And then navigating through all the controversy, the legal battles, the raids. It's just so clear that this is way more complex than any headline could ever capture.
Absolutely.
We've really tried to get beyond just the surface level, understand how belief, power, and law all tangled together here.
And if you sort of step back and connect this to the bigger picture, the FLDS story, it really serves as this powerful, maybe uncomfortable case study. It highlights those deep, sometimes maybe even irreconcilable tensions that can flare up between a group's strongly held religious beliefs, especially when they're outside the mainstream, and the basic legal and social rules of the wider society.
Right. That core conflict.
Exactly. And it pushes us to ask a really crucial question, one that affects everyone. Where does a society draw that line? How do you protect religious freedom, which is so vital,
while also protecting people.
while also ensuring you effectively safeguard human rights, protect vulnerable people, especially children, when those deeply held beliefs seem to directly clash with the law.
That's a tough balance.
It's an incredibly tough balance, and it's a challenge that goes way beyond just the FLDS. It requires really careful, nuanced thinking from all of us.
Absolutely. The FLDS really does embody that societal dilemma in a stark way. We hope this deep dive encourages you, the listener, to keep exploring how different communities navigate their beliefs within society's legal and social frameworks. And to always approach these kinds of topics with, an informed mind, a critical perspective, but maybe also some empathy for the complexities involved.
Well said.
The world's full of these fascinating, complicated stories just waiting for a deeper look. That's all for this deep dive.